President Trump just issued a proclamation encouraging Americans to keep Shabbat. I encourage you to do the same thing.
Oh my God, just shoot me in the head, please.
I had said, gladly. I had said
I know,
that individuals are free to lobby their government.
For culture, right?
No,
that individuals are free to lobby their government.
No, a lot of that.
I used as an example.
They show it every day.
Well, that was just a little taste of the debate that I had recently with Israel Firster and PragerU's resident Israel propagandist, Shabbos Kestenbaum. The debate got a little fiery, Cenk, to say the least.
Yeah, so look, I want to show you more clips from that. But if Anna had said that she would like to shoot him in the head, it would be in a literal congressional resolution. It would be all over cable news right now. But if you support Israel, you could call for the murder of other pundits and no one cares at all, because they have special rules and special privileges while pretending to be the world's greatest victims.
I actually want to play that cold open again, if you don't mind. Listen closely, right? I obviously use an expression, it's an exaggerated expression because it's a frustrating conversation. I obviously don't literally mean someone please shoot me in the head. But listen to how he responds to that.
President Trump just issued a proclamation encouraging Americans to keep Shabbat. I encourage you to do the same thing.
Oh my God, just shoot me in the head, please.
I had said, gladly. I had said that individuals are free to lobby their government.
For culture, right?
That individuals are free to lobby their government.
No, a lot of that.
I used as an example.
They show it every day.
So just want to make sure everyone knows that we live in like a two-tiered system where it's almost like we live under a caste system, right?
We do, because I guarantee you, Anna, that if you show that to cable news anchors, they'll go, Shabbos, way to go,
totally.
You got
Jake
Anna.
Tapper would love it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why he'd say that. Because you gotta be thinking, exactly, what do you mean? That he said he'd gladly shoot Anna in the head, he's obviously in the wrong. No, they'll go, oh, Anna said that was in the Israeli culture because of all the people that they've killed in Gaza.
It is.
Because of the empirical fact of who they've killed in Gaza. And I guarantee you, they're like, oh, shooting Anna in the head, no big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal, she's not an Israeli. Her life doesn't count at all, okay? But you said something negative about Israelis, cancel Anna.
Yeah.
Guaranteed that would be the reaction of nearly every cable news anchor in this country.
Well, that's why I'm not on cable news. CNN doesn't call me anymore, specifically. Anyway, whatever, put that aside. I don't care about CNN, but you're absolutely right in what you're saying here. Now, I wanna go to the next video because this is the one that really sets the tone for how the entire debate went.
Roughly 13% of the $7 trillion that we expend as the federal budget every single year goes to the military, whereas 55% of total expenditures are going to entitlement and mandatory safety net programs, which does not even include the money we're spending on inflation on the debt alone. So the idea that the reason you don't have,
I know you'd like that money to go to Israel, but we fund those programs. My money funds those programs. So we are entitled to them. So we are entitled to them. But continue. I know you'd like that money to go to your precious Israelis, but continue. Yeah.
Again, I find your ability to dumb down.
I don't care what you find. Continue your statement.
So then stop. No. So just stop interrupting. You're double my age. Just shut up.
I can't stand your lies, and I can't stand that you feel entitled to our money going to anywhere other than the very entitlements that we are funding with our tax dollars.
Okay.
But okay.
So lady, let me say it again. I don't want.
Don't call me lady.
Aid to any country, whether it's Israel, whether it's Taiwan, whether it's Ukraine, I don't want foreign aid. So when you keep saying my precious Israel, I've already stated repeatedly, I don't believe in foreign aid. But the idea that you are propagating to your audience that the reason we don't have universal health care is because all the money we're spending on wars, I agree, so let's cut down the military budget, but 55% of our spending doesn't go to war or the military, it goes to our massive entitlement programs that are full with waste, fraud, and abuse, but I digress.
You know, it's interesting because I've seen the Trump administration make that claim about our entitlement programs for how long, and what kind of waste, fraud, and abuse did they find? Doesn't seem like they found much waste, fraud, and abuse when it came to entitlement programs, which, by the way, he seems like he loves the idea of universal health care, but listen to the way that he talks about entitlement programs. Seems like he's got a lot of disdain for those entitlement programs, doesn't he?
Yeah, so first, the reason why they were called entitlement programs in the first place is because Social Security and Medicare we pay into. So we are entitled to our money back unless you listen to Shabbos, and then he says, no. Now, but technically he says, no, I'm not, I don't want the money to go to Israel. Right, so do you want us to go to war against Iran? Of course, you better go to war against Iran and spend, what, 29 billion lately, right? At a minimum. So is Israel gonna give us the $29 billion for their war?
Good question.
Right, he'll be like, no way, no, you're all anti-Semites, you owe Israel. Wait, what happened? I thought you said we shouldn't give money to Israel and that you weren't for AIPAC. He's such a gigantic liar. And the reason why they do that kind of husbara is to seem like they're reasonable, right?
They're reasonable.
I'm unbiased.
Yeah. So I wanted to show you that clip first to kind of set the tone of how the entire conversation went. And by the way, here's the thing. If you are making a statement where you are engaging in brazen lies, or more importantly, if you are strawmanning me or lying about me, I'm gonna interrupt you. Just know that, I'm gonna interrupt you, so stop crying about it. More importantly, don't lie about me. Don't strawman me, I won't interrupt you, it's that simple. Anyway, so in the beginning of the interview, just to show you how this guy has no freaking credibility, because he'll lie about irrelevant things. He lied about something totally irrelevant in the very beginning of the debate. So let's take a look at that.
I was on the left. I grew up watching Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur on the Young Turks. And then I decided I wanted to be a conservative. I wanted to be part of Team MAGA. The mainstream media is going to concoct a narrative whereby this is about Israel, this is about the pro-Israel lobby. But at the end of the day, Thomas Massie himself, between himself and his super PACs, raised close to $15 million. Of that money, only roughly $150,000 came from Kentuckians. His biggest fans are people like Anna Kasparian, people like Ro Khanna, people on the far left. So when you spend your campaign or the day before your campaign going on the Young Turks and not campaigning in your district, not speaking to conservatives, it's kind of no wonder that you will lose elections.
If he had grown up watching the Young Turks, he would know how to pronounce Cenk Uygur's name. It's not Cenk Uygur or whatever it is that he said. His opening line is literally, "Welcome to the Young Turks. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur." So unnecessary lies. If you're lying about that, what else are you lying about? To say that the Israel lobby had no impact on this election is laughable when you consider the fact that Thomas Massie has drawn the ire of President Donald Trump in past election cycles. Trump has tried to primary him previously and failed to do so.
Do you know your brain rot index? No, of course you don't. I didn't either because I didn't know what it was, but turns out you might want to, especially after hearing this. Did you know that the average American checks their phone over 200 times a day? That's about 5 hours of screen time a day on just your phone. Unfortunately, that means your brain is rotting. A little bit, but have no fear. I switched over to Noble Mobile, downloaded their Noble Mobile Life app, and was able to track my own brain rot index. It's 0. No, I'm just kidding. My number was not great, but now that I'm on Noble Mobile, getting way better. It tracks how much you use your phone, how often you pick it up, and even shows you how to save money on your phone bill by using it less. New members can even earn up to $100 cash back for keeping their brain rot index under 100, which means you are very unrot. Okay, so you unlock all that when you join. So download the Noble Mobile Life app today, track your own brain rot index, and learn how you can save money and spend more time doing things that actually bring you joy instead of doom scrolling on social media. Check it out by heading to tyt.com/switch or by downloading the Noble Mobile app. By the way, don't tell Andrew, but if you're on Wi-Fi, you also don't use your data, so you're gonna get money back anyway. tyt.com/switch.
Yeah, and the only difference in this election was that the Israel lobby got involved and spent a lot of money to defeat him, making it the most expensive primary race in American history.
Yeah, so they do this PSYOPs thing, and this is not just the Israelis, it's all over the internet for the last couple of years, where whichever group is funding it, apparently they all just speak in some sort of like nefarious circle where they go, oh yeah, that's a good operation, is, well, and this isn't just to us, it happens to a lot of different people on the left and the right. I used to watch your show so much, but you've really changed. It's disappointed me. The real problem is what's happened to you. They never watched the show. They were never.
No, it never works on me because I know it's BS. But that lies. I mean, if you're gonna use that lie, just take the extra minute to learn how to pronounce the host's name.
Right. Later, by the way, he complained that Anna wasn't pronouncing his name right, as if you've got an obligation to know exactly how you would pronounce his name. Listen, Shabu Shabu, I know that you guys spread this propaganda about Takia. I'm a secular Turk. I grew up a secular Turk, so I didn't even know what that was.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
So that's the thing they say, where they say Muslims are allowed to lie about the different things, including their identity and what they support, in order to do an evil plot to help Islam. Okay, is that really a Muslim thing, or is that a thing you made up to smear Muslims? But okay, whatever. So, but remember, every Israeli accusation is a confession. So that's why, oh, I used to watch the Young Turks. Oh, I'm against AIPAC. Oh, I don't want you to give money to Israel, or all a form of Israeli takia to try to seem like, oh, I'm unbiased. I just happen to think Israel's totally right to torture and murder the Palestinians and occupy them for 58 years in brutal fashion. And I think killing 23,000 kids is a great idea, and I'm so unbiased. That's classic Takia, apparently.
It's crazy. Okay, so the whole point of this debate, the topic at hand was, did the Israel lobby make all the difference in the Massie race? I believe it did. I've been following the story closely. Obviously, you have Shabos there to run interference or provide cover for the Israel lobby. And so I'm gonna play one more video in regard to the Israel lobby, and then we'll get to a really fascinating moment in regard to what Shabos says to people when he's on a debate panel and what he says to a room full of Jewish students when he thinks no one else is listening. But first, let's actually go to E4. The only thing that changed this time around was that there was the weight and the funding of the lobby, the Israel First lobby, and those ads that they were playing honed in on nonsense, total lies, AI ads purporting, claiming that Thomas Massie was in a sexual relationship with AOC and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. They fight dirty, they play dirty, because at the end of the day, the American people serve as pay pigs for foreign wars, and Massie was one of the principled Republicans who actually was a fiscal hawk, who actually cared about this country and our economic situation. And so he kept voting no for all sorts of funding projects, including wars for Israel or military aid to Israel. And Israel didn't like that. Their benefactors here in the United States didn't like that. And so the campaign worked this time around. I mean, it's just demonstrably true. Trump has tried to primary Thomas Massie before and it didn't work. Look at the margin in which he won re-election in previous elections cycles, and it's just incredible. He was like incredibly popular. And by the way, what does the Israel lobby money get you? It gets you the resources necessary to put out the ads that make it appear as though, because look, the AIPAC funded ads and all that stuff, they didn't focus on like, oh, Thomas Massie refuses to fund Israel. No, of course they didn't focus on that.
No, they never talk about Israel.
No.
Because Israel's super unpopular, so they have to lie to you and pretend that Massie has other issues.
Yes, like, oh, Massie has been a huge thorn in Trump's side. He's disloyal to the Republican Party. He's disloyal to Trump. And when you also consider the fact that older voters show up to vote, especially in primaries, whereas younger voters don't, unfortunately, Massie was at a significant disadvantage because the 65 and up voters saw those ads, saw those AI ads, probably didn't even know they were AI ads, probably think that Thomas Massie is in a throuple with AOC and Ilhan Omar. They got super motivated, they show up to vote.
Yeah, so the guys, the people who gave them money are, among them are Miri Mados and Paul Singer. These are huge pro-Israel donors that have given in many races. And they say, well, no, they're really concerned that, about Tom Massie's position on the border. Really, because why did Miri Madelson give money to the Democrats before then? Because they don't care about the border. They don't care about anything but Israel. They buy off the Democrats and the Republicans. That's the same people gave George Latimer $18 million to defeat Jamal Bowman and $14 million to defeat Cori Bush, who were both Democrats. They don't care. The only thing they care about is Israel, but they never put Israel in the ads. Instead, they lie to you and pretend they care about other things to smear anyone who would dare oppose Israel. Now, Anna, to me, the most amazing part is that not shabu shabu. I get it. Everybody's got propagandists, and a fascist government like Israel has a lot of them. In fact, they brag all the time about their Hasbara. And now Naftali Bennett, who's leading candidate in the next election in Israel, put out a whole outline today of all the new Hasbara that they have to do, propaganda to convince the West to support Israel no matter what they do, all the atrocities and how to bury that news and how to elevate fake news, etc. So I get shabu shabu, but mainstream media, all of them today in unison, exactly as predicted, saying, oh no, the $16 million that the Israeli lobby gave didn't have any effect at all.
Yeah. You're so right, Jake.
No effect.
You're so right.
And by the way, they've given to 94% of Congress, but that had no effect because the politicians don't get affected by millions of dollars. No, those are all facts, and they can't deny those facts. But they say facts have a well-known history of anti-Semitism.
Totally, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Okay, so now I want to get to the final moment that's worthy of discussion. Because I noticed that when people like this propagandist, Kestenbaum, are in front of a room full of Jewish students, he'll throw around the power of the Israel lobby and how powerful Zionists are in the United States. But when he's on a debate panel, he says something entirely different. Now, the topic at hand here is Zionist influence over our media. Let's start off with what he said when I confronted him with his own words, E5. Why are you?
I'm so happy you brought that up
right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Anna,
what kind of lies are you going to spew now?
Yeah. Oh, get ready.
Okay, go ahead. Hurry up. Okay. Go ahead.
I brought that up by saying I actually used you as an example. So I'll send you after this. I'll send you the full quote. I said that we live in a democracy.
I saw the whole video, Shabos. I've seen the entire video.
Okay,
yeah, I've
great.
seen the whole thing.
Also, it's pronounced Shabbos. I encourage you to also keep it. President Trump just issued a proclamation encouraging Americans to keep Shabbat. I encourage you to do the same thing.
Oh my God, just shoot me in the head, please.
I had said, gladly. I had said
I know,
that individuals are free to lobby their government.
For culture, right?
No, that individuals are free to lobby their government.
No, a lot of that.
I used as an example.
They show it every day.
And then I used as an example of people will say lies. So they will say that American Jews, they will say AIPAC, they will say Israel controls your life. And so I pretended for the sake of argument, let's assume that's true. Okay, why don't you do something in response? Elect candidates. This is the problem I have with the woke right. If you believe that we're controlled by foreign government, okay, so put up sensible candidates and get them into power.
So right before that video started, I had actually read a direct quote from Shabos Kestenbaum when he was in front of a room full of Jewish students. He was talking about the Zionist control of US media. And I want you to watch what he said and then ask yourself, the statement in the video you just watched, was that an honest statement in regard to what he said in that room full of Jewish students? Let's take a look.
What a pathetic philosophy of life. Because if you think AIPAC controls government, this is a free country. Build your own lobbying group and lobby for your causes. You think Jews control Hollywood? Okay, create your own content. You think that Israel is a foreign policy blunder? Okay, well then go to DC and advocate for your beliefs. It's just such a victimhood mentality that is so dumb and really makes you a loser. And I think that's the argument that we should probably go for. I think it's probably more effective to just say, all right, Nick Fuentes, you're right, we control the media. So what are you gonna do about it? You're gonna bitch on Twitter? Like, okay. Meanwhile, we're gonna control more of the media.
You're willing to admit it in front of a room full of Jewish students. You're willing to boast about it. But you know, when you're in front of the non-Jews who might have a problem with that, you say something entirely different, don't you?
Takia. Okay, so apparently it's Takia Tuesday. Okay, so now let's break that down. He said he was joking. You just saw the video. Did it look like he was joking?
It didn't to me.
You guys can make up your own mind, but it didn't look like he was joking at all, not 1%. And he also did something that they're doing a lot more these days. They're now so confident that they have complete control, and I'm not talking about Jewish people, I'm talking about Israel supporters, that they're starting to rub it in now. They're doing the same thing Ben Gvir did with the flotilla people, trying to humiliate people. By the way, every Palestinian in the occupied territory says they have gone through vicious humiliation by the Israelis that occupy them, right? So that's why he says they're a bunch of losers. They couldn't make it. And now I see all over social media, oh, you guys are all just jealous of us.
Yeah, keep doing that.
Because we're better than you, and we did better than you, and we're richer than you. By the way, you're not allowed to say we're richer than you. You're not allowed to say we control the media. We're allowed to say it, and we're allowed to rub it in your face, and we're allowed to call you a loser. And every time you complain about now, another one that they have all over social media is cry harder. Okay, so I just want to take one thing that he said.
Then you can't be upset when people hate you. If that's going to be your behavior, you can't be upset when people dislike you. No,
he would then say, because there's no end to their victimhood, no, I'm allowed to humiliate you. I'm allowed to rub it in, but if you complain about it, anti-Semite, you're the real one who's immoral. Like there's no end to their BS anti-Semitism claims.
Of course, yeah.
So it's just a dumpster fire of weaponized anti-Semitism. So they're all Jesse Smollett. They're like, oh, victim, right? That's shabu shabu in a freaking nutshell right there. But I like that they are taping themselves. Like when they're internal, they're like, okay, guys, we all love Israel, right? We're humiliating the Americans. We're taking their money and we own their media. And then when we say this, and then they just repeat us and they quote us, we'll call them anti-Semites. What a great trick, right? That is actually what you look like. Okay, so I'm not exaggerating. You guys look ridiculous now. How you get to say literally, I mean, all right, I can go on and on with 1,000 examples of this, but I gotta say one last thing here. He said, create your media and own media. Like, don't complain about Hollywood. Go into Hollywood and start a company or do something in Hollywood. I actually totally agree with that. In fact, that's why I started my own media company. I'm not a guy who whines or cries, I just do it. I take action.
You do it, you're right.
Yeah, and so what's happened? Oh, when David Ellison starts his own media company, Daddy gives him tens of billions of dollars and he can buy Paramount and Warner Brothers and CNN and TikTok. And so, well, he's such a doer. He's a man of action. You know, you get a 20, 40, 50 billion dollars. Man, you go and buy those companies. Wow, you sound like you're a real capitalist and a real doer, right? Me, on the other hand, I start this company with no money. We started my 1-bedroom apartment in the living room. We put a couple of mics in. So, okay, so what's happened since then? Well, through the beauty of this country, which I love so much, I've had the opportunity to grow it, and now we're one of the larger media companies. But are we flush with cash like David Ellison or the others? No, we're starved of cash. Why? Since we've criticized Israel, most of the investment community has gone away. And they've let it be known that we are opposing Israel. That is why they've turned off all the taps. And then they go, why don't you create your own media company? Good luck trying to do it with no money. And here's billions of dollars to help Israel.
He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
So did they overpay for free press? They bragged about overpaying for free press. They said, here, we're gonna give you way more than you deserve because you're pro-Israel, right? So if you're pro-Israel, there's bags of money everywhere. Here, Ben Shapiro, Dennis Prager, David Rubin, all these guys. Now go do Israeli propaganda, right? If you're not gonna do Israeli propaganda, no money for you. Now, it doesn't mean you can't make it. We're still gonna make it. We're still gonna kick their ass. And we're still gonna have the largest news network in the country. But that is despite every obstacle that pro-Israel people put, because they don't want anyone in this country or any country being able to criticize Israel. They want propaganda in every single country about how wonderful Israel is, and how, by the way, not just that, but how terrible the terrorist Palestinians are. You should all hate the Palestinians. They're all terrorists. They deserve to be murdered. Israel's doing you a favor by murdering them. Give me money, give me money. Oh, look at that, I happen to get money from your government. Now I'm flush with cash. I'm rich, you're not, you're a loser. You're a loser, he says, after they bribe all of our government officials, and then they get $320 billion from us. They steal, yes, steal from us by using their bagmen, the dirty politicians in America. And then they go, look at all the money we stole from you. Ha, we're rich and you're a loser. Say it one more time, Shabu Shabu. Call Americans losers one more time, Shamu. Okay.
I can't.
Okay, I have a pretty good sense of who's an effing loser.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.